confirmation of the agenda. There's been a change in that. The Council of the Township of North Huron accept the agenda for the January 7, 2019 council meeting as amendment, including the closed session. Item 2.B, personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee, administration personnel. Do I have a mover? Okay, Anita? Trevor, seconds. Thank you very much. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Any? None noted. There's no public. Oh, we're going to do the public comment tonight. This is going to be the first time we're doing it. So I would like to read the, so everybody in the public knows when you step up here 2 minutes, what's going to happen. So the public comment section. This section is a new and has been recently been added to the council agenda. The purpose is to provide members of the public with the opportunity to share their views, opinions, and or provide additional information regarding a matter at the council on the council agenda. So it has to be on the agenda. There is a time limit of 2 minutes per person, and this is in my discretion as to how many people are allowed to speak. We do not ask each other. We do not ask that each speaker share a different. We do ask that each speaker share a different point of view, option, or opinion with the various speakers. I want to clarify that this is not a question and answer period, and any negative or derogatory comments towards council or its staff, I'm not going to tolerate it. You'll be asked to stop immediately. Prior to speaking, we ask that you provide your name, your address, the agenda items you wish to comment on. Is there anybody in the public gallery that would like to speak? Yes, my friend. Step up to the podium.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity. John Schwarzenegger from Brussels. Regard to agenda item 5.33. And what I have here is a summary of my public response to the North Huron press release regarding the Stutzman situation. North Huron's press release was highly misleading of the situation. Did it have legal counsel?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, legal clearance.
Sorry, this is not a question and answer period. This is just your comments.
I was just throwing that out there. The Stutzman property was never in violation of higher law. The zoning bylaw was. Therefore, the North Huron zoning bylaw must be amended to come into compliance with Stutzman's lawful usage of their property and with provincial statutes. North Huron did not keep their commitment made in the resolution whereby they agreed to release Kirk's findings from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. He never did to this hour. Yet they held Stutzman's to excessive extra legal requirements.
Sir, there will be nothing negative. We did not. If you would have read it, continue on, but be careful. Okay, appreciate it.
The bulk of the building code charge material would likely have been soundly discredited had this information been disclosed. We did our research as well and knew what would be found, and we have the documentation available. The bulk of the charges had no legal basis. Stutzman's would have been pleased had the charges been withdrawn back in September when exposed as such, but the legal threat was left hanging over the Stutzman's. Cooperating under an unfounded threat should never be confused with working together. Reed Bailey, I would just question, is it wise to jeopardize your standing in the community by supporting malfeasance? This council might want to quickly learn independent thought and assessment skills or risk their reputations as well. You can redeem this. The image of this municipal council, municipal government, has suffered immense damage as a result of this case. Don't make it worse. We request that this council issue a public apology to the Stutzman families for harm done and to the public for wasting their tax dollars on what amounted to a frivolous, malicious complaint. There will be copies of my response to the media, which will be in print this week.
Thank you kindly, sir.
On the counter.
Thank you kindly, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments? Seeing none. going to go to the consent agenda, that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopt minutes under consent item 5.1.1 and 5.1.2, and further the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receive consent items 5.2.1 and 5.3.4 for information. Do I have a, yep, good, yeah. You're gonna put the motion forward? Sorry. You're gonna accept it? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Paul, any comments? Information? Thank you very kindly. All in favor? Accept. Thank you. We have no public meetings or hearings tonight. On the reports, we have the clerk's department. Did you have anything there? Yes, we're going to talk about the vacancy on the Wing Police Board. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
So just for the benefit of council and the public, so at the September 18th, 2018 meeting, the North Huron Police Services Board accepted with regret the resignation of the Community Representative Bill Gregorius, effective immediately. Subsequently, council was informed and discussion took place regarding the vacancy on the board. Council directed staff to advertise the vacancy on the township website and to receive applications. So the vacancy was posted, applications were received, 4 applications were received. 2 individuals have since withdrawn. However, the other 2 individuals have allowed their name to stand for the vacancy position on the board. Both of those individuals are with us tonight to address council. And after they've had the opportunity to address council later in the council meeting, council will go into closed session. We'll discuss the merits of the 2 individuals and then come out of closed session and then make a decision in terms of either of those individuals being appointed to the board. So at this time, I'd invite.
Yep. So at this time, we'd like to invite the 2 individuals. One is Stephen Hill. I've lost my note here. The other ones are
Jim Soretta.
Jim Soretta. Stephen, would you like to speak first?
Not really.
Well, go ahead anyway.
I'd like to withdraw my name due to I have other time commitments now.
Okay, thank you very kindly. Jim, would you like to speak to the council? We'd appreciate it.
Sure. Well, I thank you for having me here to speak. I'm a fairly new resident to Wingham. We purchased the property here in 2015. Joseph just on right next door handed the old Hannah department store. So we've renovated it and we just recently moved here in the spring. So we're going to call Wingham our home. We've moved from Mount Forest. And we have, we're at a point of our life where we want to start to give a little bit back to our community. So wherever we can help, we're gonna try and help with the BIA hopefully and make some library things. And I watched throughout the spring what I could of the police situation, what was happening here in Wingham. Found it quite interesting. I think I can bring some some business acumen and some public dealings and communication. I think I can bring some good things to the position and to the board, and hopefully to council. Obviously, it all relates back to council as well. So, really, what else to say? It's a pretty big interview. It's a little bit a little bit intimidating, to be honest. But so anyway, I don't know if you have any questions for me or what I can answer. But
Thank you very kindly, Jim. Does the council have any questions for Jim? Any comments? Go ahead.
Through you, Reeve. Have you been, what other committee or board experience do you have?
well, quite honestly, other than the business background and my employment, I really haven't, as I said, prior to now, I found it very hard to get involved in things in the type of business. I was 30 years in the car business, which is takes a lot of time and So I don't have a lot of board experience beyond business, running business and, all the things that go with that, budgeting and inventories and that sort of thing. Dealing with people, of course, I've been doing that for 30 years. I started with RBC about almost a year ago now, and I deal with business clients. So I had some pretty extensive training on RBC, actually a lot more than I thought I was going to have. So a lot of accounting things, courses, that sort of thing. Just a business background, basically, and dealing with people type thing.
Any other questions from council? Jim, thank you very much. As stated, we're going to consider this in camera at the end of the meeting. And if you want to stick around, we can let you know. And if not, the CEO will be in touch with you tomorrow and let you know the decision of council.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very kindly.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Under Finance Department, we have no information for tonight. Or 7.3, Recreation and Community. 7.4, Public Works, there's nothing going on. 7.5 with the fire, nothing on the agenda. 7.6, nothing on the agenda for Building Department. Last night, guys. Children's Department, Childcare Department, there's nothing either. So we'll go down to, did I have to call for a motion on those seven? So we're going to go down to 7.8 CAO, and he's going to do a few for us here, starting with 7.8.1, the election follow-up report. And then maybe if you want, Dwayne, you can just go right into 7.8.2, 7.8.3. No, we're going to start with 7.8.1 because we do have a motion. Sorry.
Thanks, Reese. So this is a report that has been prepared regarding the 2018 North Huron municipal election. This is the final report of the election and is provided for council for information purposes. As council will recall, this is the first election where we have had the internet phone voting in this particular election, along with all the other lower tiers in the county. And there was a working group that was established to facilitate that process. You'll see that from a staff's perspective, the administration of the election, with the assistance of Simply Voting, Voter View, and the Huron County Election Working Group, from a staff's perspective, was successful. The voter turnout in North Huron exceeded that of the 2014 and 2018 provincial average. The feedback from voters was primarily favorable, and accurate results were available in a timely fashion. I think it was around 8:30 on October 22nd that we were able to have the results available, which is early in terms of comparison to other forms and other systems. There were some challenges with the accuracy of the voters list, and that's not an uncommon challenge, but it is something that we continue to work with MPAC on to see if we can minimize the number of additions or changes. As noted in the report, the two primary challenges that we have are with respect to tenants. Tenants change and move, and our voters list is not kept up to date accordingly. And the other is in terms of boarders. In particular, these are often boarders who are the adult children of property owners who have moved elsewhere for schooling or for work, and they're still on our voters list. And what happens just in terms of by them being on our voters list, it affects our eligible voter numbers. So, which affects, there's a formula that to use to calculate financial. So it affects a little bit on the financial side of things. So I guess just in terms of, we would recommend just in terms of, this from staff's perspective worked very well. The two companies that we work with, we worked very well with them, and they were very responsive and quick to respond to us when there were any issues or concerns that were brought forward or question that we had. We found them to be very responsive and very timely to keep things moving from our perspective. So unless there's any questions, this is a report again for information. In 2021, 2022, there'll be a report coming forward to council at that point, about 3 years in time for the next election. And staff will be asking council to make some decisions to assist in preparation for the next election, but we're ready to go.
So we have a resolution that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receive a report prepared by the CAO clerk dated January 7, 2019 regarding the 2018 North Huron municipal election, final report for information purposes. Do I have a mover? Rick McBurney, do I have a seconder? Chris Palmer? Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, we will move on to the cannabis report. 7.8.2. And this time we'll read the resolution first. Go ahead.
Sorry, we should make sure that we do mention voting. Once you get a first and a seconder, we should still make sure we call the vote.
Oh, sorry, Trevor. Good thinking.
Just wanna make
Could we,
sure.
yeah, good idea. Good idea. As you can tell, I'm having a rough night. I call the vote. Pass. Okay, let's get in the hang of it. So we're going to move on to 7.8.2 cannabis report. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby received a report of the CAO clerk dated January 7, 2019 regarding the retail sale of cannabis by received. And further, that the council support in principle permitting the licensing of cannabis retail sales located in the Township of North Huron. And further, that the staff be directed to prepare a resolution of support for the January 21st, 2019 regular council meeting to prepare for the deadline to opt in established by the provincial, the province of Ontario. Do I have a mover? Okay, Anita, do I have a seconder? Kevin? Comments and questions. First of all, I would like Gary to, I'd like Gary to expand on this because we had a conversation, because we had a conversation on this earlier, and I'd like you to fill council in on it, if you don't mind, about the 25 years and the amount of people, 25,000.
Sure. So this is council, so council's not being asked to make a decision tonight with respect to this. Council has until January 22nd to make a decision whether or not you wish to opt out of allowing the sale of retail cannabis in the municipality. If you don't pass a motion opting out, then you're automatically opted in, is how it's set up. And there are a number of municipalities locally and across the province that are currently making this decision as well. And you'll find that in your report. I believe it's on page 3 in terms of local, kind of where at a local municipality, where things are at. So just in terms of coming back to the Reeves comments, just as far as the province posted a regulation, it's 497.18. And it basically sets out the maximums, the allocations, and the application and restrictions on retail locations. And there has been, as I understand, a shortage of the product, and subsequently it slowed things a little bit. So the province has slowed the licensing of the retail cannabis operations. But I think it's important for council to know that the regulation indicates that only 25 retail locations will be licensed across the province. Seven of those 25 licenses will be issued in the Western region. And the Western region includes Dufferin, Wellington, Hamilton, Niagara, Oldham and Norfolk, Brant, Waterloo, Perth, Oxford, Elgin, Chatham-Kent, Essex, Lambton, Middlesex, Huron, Bruce, Grey, and Manitoulin. And until such time as more than 25 are issued, none of the retail stores will be located in a municipality with a population of less than 50,000. And our population is around 4,800. So we're well below that. In fact, the county is around 60,000. So even the county is below with that. And that the regulations are revoked on December 13th of 2019. But essentially where we're at this point is based on the regulation, and up until December 13th of 2019, it's not possible for a retail store to open in North Huron in the first round of licensing. But you will see in your report that there is some dollars attached to it. And you don't receive those dollars if you decide to opt out. So that's offering that for council's consideration. I think it's also important to note that the Act does state that stores must be located 150 meters away from schools and private schools. And attached to the report, you'll see three aerial photos of the three schools, the public and the private, in terms of buffer. There was a question asked in terms of whether or not private, homeschooled children, whether that 150 meter buffer applied to that as well. I don't know the answer to that question tonight. Currently working on that, but we'll have it in time for you for January 21st in terms of making that decision. At the last council meeting as well, there was a comment or a question asked with respect to the OPP in terms of if they had any comments or thoughts on it. And in response, I've invited Dave Cinco to join us with the OPP, and he's here and he'll provide you with comments from an OPP's perspective, if that's acceptable.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me here this evening. This is new, obviously, to everyone, and there's a lot of questions coming out of the entire process. The OPP as a whole does not have an opinion either way as to whether the municipality wishes to opt in or out. That's strictly up to council and the decisions that you come up with as a whole. One of the questions that was broached was the cost of policing and how will this affect the cost of policing. Well, I'm sorry, but the short answer is we don't have specifics, and it's simply because it is so new. What I would compare it to is, relatively speaking, is to the sale of alcohol, be it the beer store or the liquor store. With any retail outlet, there is opportunity there for crime, and we would deal with that on a call per call basis. So, is there an answer that I can give you to say if you opt into this and you are successful, that policing costs will go up by any number? I can't provide you with that. And likewise, will it have any effect? Really, and I know it's not the answers that anybody wants to hear. It would be great if we had the crystal ball that could tell us things would change based on yay or nay. But in essence, we can't tell you that. So ultimately, the decision is here, whether you like to stay in the process or opt out of that. While we move forward with this, we'll continue to deal with crimes with unlicensed locations, and we do have occurrences ongoing where people are transporting in contravention of the current legislation, and we're dealing with those on a day-to-day call-for-call basis as well. So, pending any questions, I do apologize. It's probably not a fulsome answer that everybody would like to hear. But basically, I think every council is basing this on the same thing. There's an unknown, and it's something that they need to discuss. Is it good for the community? I think, as was already mentioned, I don't foresee it happening anytime soon, given the size of the community and the current number of retail outlets that are proposed. Again, the OPP has nothing to do with that planning, so I'm not one to speak on their behalf. So, pending any questions from council, I'm more than willing to help out any way I can, but I don't have any concrete answers to say yes or no with regards to the cost of policing.
Thank you. Do councilors have any questions or concerns or information they'd like to bring up? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Reeve. Well, I think you've already heard my kind of answer last time we discussed this, and I firmly believe that it crosses the line of social responsibility. But I'm going to ask a question anyways.
Yes.
You read the material, and it's slightly ambiguous between upper and lower. Okay, there's $10,000 over 2 years, $5,000 a year. Then it talks about 50-50 split with upper tier. What's that? Then it talks about household numbers as determining the final figure. Like, We have no idea if you wanted it. You have no idea how many dollars you're gonna receive for what? To be legal, that's about it. And then the costs for OPP, it's just gonna add up as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, these are just my little thoughts. I go to bed at night just not sleeping over crap like this. But anyways, that's how I feel.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Yes, that's for you. Bailey, on here, I noticed you went down, or maybe Dwayne went down and talked about the different tiers here, like our lower tiers. And Blue Water opted out, it says opted in here. I was talking to the mayor there and he said they opted out. I'm just curious. Oh, print, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So just my thoughts on this, and maybe it's just an old-fashioned way of thinking, but so they're basically telling us if we opt out, we get absolutely nothing and nothing down the road. If we opt in, we can't do it, but they're gonna give us $10,000. I think I understood that properly, did I not? Yeah. It's quite an interesting way of doing business. But I'll just put that out there. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so
Trevor?
I think the concerning part for everybody is the social aspect of what this means to the community and the municipality. As mentioned by the OPP is, a lot of the conversations about legal cannabis has been how does the municipalities bylaws how do we ensure that the people who are selling it are selling it legally under the legislation, under the guidelines of the federal and provincial governments. The problem is it's been very vague. It has been very vague right from the start about what is legal, what is not. It seems to flip flop all the time. The question about the $10,000 has been that came in that has been there right from day one when the provincial government decided to allow legal cannabis sales. What's happened is the 25 outlets. It was going to be a lot more, and then shortages happened. So I think from a perspective is they didn't want to give away the fact that there is going to be some impact to policing potentially, to social bylaws, for enforcement of whatever the case may be, whatever bylaws each municipality has their own. So you can determine what municipality bylaws you want to have put in place to ensure that you are having the safety of your community as such. But from my perspective, it's I still think there's not enough information from the policing sector, from the ministry that tells us specifically what the guidelines are in order for selling of retail cannabis compared to alcohol and that type of stuff. How is it different? How are we supposed to be treating it different? So that the bylaws in the municipality can use bylaws to make it more of a cleaner perspective for the entire municipality. It's going to be out there. It is legal. So we have to, this is an opportunity for businesses, manufacturing, all those type jobs. Those are things that we have to understand. But also we do have 3 schools within the municipality. And do we want to have that displayed downtown? Because that's where it's going to be based on the 150 meters. It's going to be down Josephine Street. There's no really other option. So do we want that? I don't know. I honestly haven't made up my mind yet whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for the community. My real concern has always been that the fact that it's very vague. The material that I've read doesn't give me a warm feeling about what's going on from the top down. It seems like they've kind of, and to be quite fair to the Ontario government, I think they've enforced this. by the federal government. So, they're trying to work their way through it as well. But I think we'll have to take into consideration, I think the opting in, that allows us to get that money. We opt out, we can't. So, that's, if there's a reason to get money from the government, knowing full well that we probably aren't gonna see one because of our size for quite some time, it's a windfall for the municipality in essence.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I call the vote. Yes, go ahead.
This is the second letter in our list, and it does say on page 2, it's the second point of the second payment of funds. Point 2, if a municipality has opted out of hosting it, it will receive a maximum of $5,000.
Also, sorry. Misread that. So yeah,
Myself.
they'll get 5,000.
For whatever, yeah.
So they're gonna, the concern I would have is if you opt out and they're telling you you get 5,000, you're gonna get 5,000. There'll be no negotiation, but if that fellow sitting in the OPP chair over there tells me it's gonna cost $20,000 extra to police it, I am stuck with only getting 5,000, where if you do the opt-in, then you may have a chance to maneuver that. Go ahead, Chuck.
But if you opt out, then there can't be any retail say, you have the opportunity that if you opt out, no matter who wants to put in for a license, they can't, you're not a willing host. So you're not allowing them to have a retail outlet in your municipality if you opt out.
But the cannabis will come from Clinton to here. It's not, you're not gonna put a wall up and keep it out any more than liquor or beer. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, Mr. Reed, I was just actually was going to make the point you just last made. Regardless whether you're in or we're out, we'll have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's been legalized, so it's not a matter of whether it's actually physically here or not. It's going to be here, and we'll have to deal with it, matter one way or the other.
Other comments? Concerns? Seeing none, I call the vote. Okay, pass.
I have a recorded vote on that, so.
Would you like a recorded vote on that now? Yep.
Deputy Reed,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilor McLean,
Well, no.
Councilor Palmer. Yes.
Who didn't vote? Oh, yeah, I said yes. Good pass. Okay. 7.8.3, the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receive the report of the CAO clerk dated January 7, 2019 regarding amendments to the corporation policy C-3.13, formerly the cell phone use policy for information purposes. And further, that the council support the amendment to the mobile device usage policy and direct staff to place the proposed bylaw on the January 21st, 2019 council agenda for the final consideration. Do I have a mover? Okay, Kevin Faulkner, seconder. Paul Heffert. Did you want to speak to that?
I can, if council wishes.
So Peter Reeve, essentially, we have a cell phone policy that we've had that's been in place since 2009. It was approved in 2008, came into effect in January 1st of 2009, so it's 10 years. Technology and and things change or have changed over the course of that 10 years. And when we went and looked at that cell phone policy for the municipality, we identified that from a staff's perspective that it was needed some updates and as well needed to be broadened to not only just include cell phones, but also to include other mobile devices such as the iPads, for example, that council has. So this policy essentially would apply to council and to staff. I think that's just important to emphasize. In terms of the draft policy that has been provided for council, in terms of the changes or the clarifications, any person issuing mobile device would be required to sign a policy acknowledgement statement. Any advice issued for emergency management must be monitored while the user is on vacation or leave, and that's particularly important for staff with respect to emergency management. That if you are the carrier of a cell phone for emergency management purposes, that phone, should that phone be called, there does need to be a response to it, whether you're on vacation or on leave. Stronger password guidelines are proposed. Confirmation in there that our IT staff will trace, wipe, or lock lost or stolen devices immediately. So if you report or you indicate to us that you misplaced or you do not know the whereabouts of your iPad, we will lock it immediately. Users are permitted to use the devices for personal, as long as the personal use is in compliance with the new policy and as well as compliance with the North Huron Code of Conduct. When an employee leaves or retires, they will be permitted to purchase the mobile device from the municipality. At the end of term of council, members will be offered to purchase their iPad or other mobile device based on the value that's established. Criteria for installing apps on mobile devices is built into the policy. Users are strictly prohibited from using the mobile device while operating vehicles or equipment. And confidentiality and compliance requirements are also addressed or incorporated into the new policy. So this is a draft policy, as has been indicated. And we're asking for any comments or feedback on the policy, or if you have any questions, we'll certainly take those back. We can make any changes to it, and then we can bring forward a final version of the policy for council's consideration at our January 21st council meeting. So,
Questions or comments? Trevor?
The one question I had, there has been, with regards to, through you, Eve, with regards to passwords. I know a lot of companies have a process or a policy that passwords are updated every 3 to 6 months. But I don't see that in here, and maybe I'm misreading it, but I don't see that in here.
no, it's not in the policy itself. Sorry, through
Go
you,
ahead,
Reed.
Jeff.
It's not in the policy itself, but operationally though, passwords are going to change. We're working with our IT provider and those passwords you'll be either asked or they will be reset. I think it's 3 months, but we talked about 3 months, 4 months. I think we settled on 3 months.
So that's an operational thing, not necessarily a policy-driven process.
Operational, yeah. But the password though, that when you're asked to say you pick a new password,
Yep.
it'll have to meet certain criteria. So
Yep.
caps and uppercase, lowercase, all that sort of stuff. You just won't be able to give it. You won't be able to assign a password that is easily broken into.
Okay.
Other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't have an update or a relook every 3 years, 5 years. Like it's been 10 and there has been a lot of changes. So should it just be an automatic?
We could build,
Go ahead.
through the we could build it in there that the policy would be reviewed every 3 years, for example.
I agree with that. Any other comments on that or anything else? Seeing none, I call the vote. Passed. Okay. 7.8.4 OPP transition agreement. back here right now. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receive the report of the CAO clerk dated January 7, 2019 regarding amendments to corporate policy C-3.13, formerly the cell phone use policy. Sorry, guys. Do you want to just go ahead and read it? Because obviously it's not here. That's the motion. Recommended motion is that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby receive the report prepared by the CAO clerk dated January 7, 2019 regarding the amended contract policing proposal December 21st, 2018, and bylaw to enter into an agreement with the policing service for information purposes, and that council proceed to adopt bylaw 01-2019, being a bylaw to enter into the agreement with the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services for the provision of police services to Wingham Ward of the Township of North Huron. And further, the council deemed bylaw number 01-2019 to be administrative and approves an exception to the section 19.1 of the provincial bylaw to allow bylaw number 01-2019 to be passed at January 7th, 2019 council meeting. Do I have a mover? Okay, Chris Palmer. Do I have a seconder? Paul Heffer. Dwayne, did you want to go into this one a bit too?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reeve. So as council and the public is aware, North Huron adopted a bylaw in last year, I believe it was around June, to accept an OPP contract proposal for the Wingham Ward. And that contract was based on the 2017 municipal cost recovery formula for 2018. Essentially what this is, it's an updated copy of the contract proposal to reflect costs for 2019, in particular for things around, for example, salaries and wages. So this updated contract that you have before you incorporates the updated salaries and wages based on the collective agreement that the province has, for example, with the OPP officers. As well, in terms of, there's some additional items in there with respect to what's referred to as a radio beat system. There was a cost in there, for example, of $30,000. They've gone back and done some recalculating. It is paid on a cost recovery in terms of whatever they pay. Basically we reimburse them for. But that cost that was quoted in 2018 of $30,000 has now increased up to around $50,000. And that would be the max in terms of would not be anticipated beyond that. And as well, in terms of, there are going to be some renovations that are going to be needed to the OPP detachment on Bristol Terrace, which is where our service will be provided from. And they've done some calculations on that, and it was around $14,000, and now it's around $19,000. So about $5,000 additional dollars to do renovations to that existing detachment. So the agreement you have before you basically incorporates those changes or reflects those changes. We are looking at a transition date of February the 21st of 2019. And the OPP have indicated that, subject to this agreement being passed, they're going to be here later this month to get that signed, and so we can proceed with the transition on the 21st.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, I call the vote. Passed. I'm going to go to number 8, to correspondence. There is absolutely none that I see up here in front of me. I'm gonna go to 9 to council reports. I'm gonna start with 9.1, the Reeve activity report. Has been a very busy beginning. I'd like to point out at county that the Blythe Center for the Arts application has been diverted to 2019, so they will not be getting their money they were looking for in 2018. We have our first draft budget out, which I started going through. And that's pretty well it for North Huron for the county. For the township, we first got set up, my second and third email came from Mr. Rutledge, who is building the new Blythe subdivision over in Blythe. And it was to do with things were lagging behind, things weren't going forward. He was getting to be quite concerned. So I put an email out to the county, Wayne, to Sean. And I asked the staff, I told them my attitude would be I want it done yesterday and whose desk I could sit at, get it done. That was the 11th or 12th of December. I want to thank the county, Lori. Thank you very much for your quick response. It is truly amazing. You guys did a wonderful job. I want to thank Mr. Rutledge for his patience with us. But I want a special thanks out to Sean and Dwayne here sitting for our town council because we did get on top of this and we broke ground today. I think that's about 20 days. So I believe this is going to be the first subdivision that the township of North Huron has had as a township of North Huron. And we're building it in North Huron. And there are 16 lots available right now from this company and you can have your house built next year, which brings valuable tax dollars. They're gonna go ahead and they're building, I believe it's a 4-plex and a 2-plex for the spring. This started with the former council, and my hat's off to the former council. And this is a great beginning for our council. We moved forward as a team. So I just want to thank everybody for that and know that anybody that wants to build a house, please let us know. We have a lot for you now. North Huron is open for business now. And we're going to move forward on other projects as some of the councilors, all of the councilors know, and we'll be coming forward with them too. This is a fantastic step and I am so proud of it. And again, my staff, the county staff, and everybody that was involved in this, thank you. Thank you very much for moving it forward on such a quick notice. I cannot thank you enough. That's it for the Reeve report. 9.2 council member reports. Councilors, is there anything you'd like to talk about? You're working with or concerned about? Seeing none at this time because we're also happy about the new subdivision. We will move forward. 9.3 again, comments by members, and we have none. Number 10, notice of motion. There is a notice of motion. It is a request that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby direct staff to prepare a report regarding possible title changes from Reeve to mayor and from deputy Reeve to deputy mayor. I'm bringing this forward. Do I need a motion on this? No. Yes, go ahead.
So just procedurally to the Reeve, just in terms of the Reeve has brought, so for the benefit of council and for the public, the Reeve brought this forward as a notice of motion. Notice of motions basically are notifying that this is something that, in this case, Reeve Bailey would like to discuss at the next council meeting. It's a motion that he'll be looking for a decision at the next council meeting. And on the basis that council supports it, then staff would bring back a report with information to enable council to make a decision. So it's kind of, so this is his notice of motion. The motion itself, you will consider at the January 21st council meeting, and then you'll make a decision at the first meeting in February.
So there's no need for conversation today? No. Okay, thank you. And again, this is the first motion to put forward, so we're working through this as a new council. Thank you kindly. 11 bylaws, we're going to go into 11.1 bylaw number 01, 2019. You just want the description in the resolution or just the resolution? Or description?
You can make the description.
Yeah. Okay. Being a bylaw to enter into the updated agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario for the provisions of police services in the Wingham Ward.
Thanks, Reeve. So bylaw number 01, 2019, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Community Safety and Correctional Services for the provision of police services under Section 10 of the Police Services Act, RSO 1990 CP 15 as amended, and to also authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council the updated OPP contract policy proposal for the Wingham Ward of the Corporation Township in North Huron, which is dated December 1st, 2018, and to repeal bylaw 60 of 2018, be read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and be engrossed in the bylaw book.
Do I have a mover? Kevin Faulkner moves, seconder. Paul Heffer seconds. Questions or comments? Seeing none, I call the vote. The vote passes. That's the only bylaw for tonight. There's no announcements for number 12, number 13, other business. Is there any other business that I'm not aware of that anyone would like to talk about? Bring forward? Go ahead.
You just wasn't sure whether you were going to mention it or not, but we did get an email, myself and Reeve Bailey, requesting council members possibly who are available to go to a meeting in London on Wednesday at 11:30. It's a discussion and a proposal with regards to Bruce Power. So Bruce Power, there's a presentation being made at 11:30, I think, in London. If there is any councillors that are willing to go, I'm not available. I know the Reeve Bailey, I believe, is going to go. So they are requesting that they would like three representatives. So Dwayne's going and Reeve Bailey's going. So if there is another councillor who wishes to kind of take my spot, feel free to let Reeve Bailey or Dwayne know, and they'll get the information to you.
I'm available for that. I could
Kevin?
send that back.
Kevin can be our third. Thank you very much. This just popped up an hour and a half or 2.5 hours ago, so no one was aware of it. I didn't know it till I got here tonight, actually. Now I know I'm going Wednesday.
I think it's the only open day we have.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay. Confirmatory bylaw. Sorry. Going to go into closed section. Go ahead. Can I have a motion to go into closed session? Okay, we have Chris Palmer.
I'll second.
Yeah, Mr. Sykes, seconds. All in favor? Thank you.